Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Just another mic check again. Just going to keep checking the audio, Gav. Right, hopefully that'll work. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of the season here with the Gavra Racing League, the Tier 1 Weekend League around Austria. What a circuit and an opportunity for everybody to get a chance to dust themselves down after the racing that was conducted last week at Portimao into a much more simpler and straightforward circuit here in the Styrian Mountains around this 2.683 mile circuit in Austria. I'm Jack TM53, your commentator as always for Tiers 1 and 2 here with Gavra Weekend League. It's great to see everybody out on circuit, and when I say everybody, a full 20 car grid. That is absolutely wonderful to see here tonight. And we've got a couple of drivers coming back. It's good to see TGT Chris back in for this race. He missed last week, and a few others as well, but all 20 cars out on track then, about to set some flying laps now. But before they do that, just want to quickly run through the championship standings from last week. We've got Born Winner leading the way after his race victory. Overwatch is second on 19 points. Obviously you get 25 points for a victory. Mr. Mankin is third, Natty G is fourth, and Yoss is in fifth place. If we look to the actual Constructors' Championships, that's where the picture looks a little bit more different. So in terms of the Constructors' Championship, Aston Martin lead the way on 37 points. That's Born Winner and Natty G. Then the 19 points are for Red Bull, which was Overwatch, stepping in for Chris last week. Williams have 15. Ferrari and Mercedes both have 10, and that is that for the points for the Constructors. So we are here for this 10-corner circuit. Quite straightforward, but we have the sprint race as well to factor in for tonight. We've got obviously the typical 50% race after it, but we have a sprint to contend with first and this short qualifying session. So the drivers will have to make sure that their sprint race is pretty positive. They can't afford to have any issues, otherwise that's going to set them to the back of the grid. And we know that Austria is a track where DRS trains can form quite easily. So they've got to be wary of that, the drivers, so that nothing particularly difficult happens to them and they start lower down. Still waiting for all drivers to get their laps on the board. We've got Natty G and Yoss still doing their out laps. But most of the rest of the grid have set a qualifying time. Mr. Mankin's just coming around turn number 8. We're following him in the Williams. Had a good result this week, did Mankin. He finished 4th. And he's rounding turn 9. That's traffic getting out of his way in the pits there. Through turn 10. A really easy lap this to try and memorise. It's a 1 minute 4.3. It's a good effort from Mr. Mankin. The number 15 in the second row of the grid. But it is Born Winner who has pole position currently, a 1 minute 4.2. But Chris is right there with him. Mr. Mankin and then Psycho a 10th further back. Ben Roberts in the top 5. Then it's Dino in 6th place. Half a second back, but he's got Shortbread right there with him. Wiggly Style in 8th place. Jolt and Money Game rounding out the top 10. Then you've got Diego. That's a good effort from Diego to see him in. He's improving his Diego. I talked him up last week in Portugal, and I'm talking him up again. That's a good effort there to be in 11th. Denmark, Shari, Sachetto, Fenicerose, as someone has just popped up with another lap time there. And that's Money Game who's gone up to 8th. But Sachetto, Fenicerose, Jan and XJMB Surreal seeing a lap time. Natty is about to go on to a flying lap, and Joss, well, it says that Joss isn't using any of his battery at the moment, so if that's the case, he's going around quite slowly. Yeah, Natty's just on a 112, so definitely not representative of what he could do. And Piero in the pits currently, so he must have invalidated his lap. I'm glad that the audio is better, Shortbread. I just made a few tweaks. I think something was happening between the split between audio input and audio output, and it was going out of the output was going out the same way, but the input was going through my phone. I don't really know why that was the case, so I've sorted that out now. Hello to those that are in the chat though. Do comment who you think's going to get a good result tonight, or if you are one of the drivers who is competing, do comment what you're aiming for tonight. Because that is always good to hear. So just a bit of a lull on circuit at the moment in terms of flying lap, and Assi G up to 6th with his best effort. So it's just Piero and Joss yet to set a lap time. But we are here at this circuit here in Spielberg. Chris is saying aim for no time penalties is what Chris is going for. The man currently 2nd in the qualifying session. And Shortbread obviously giving me some feedback about my voice, which is always pleasing to hear. Now Piero is out on circuit. We're following Diego at the moment, but Piero, one of the drivers yet to set a lap time, just coming around turn number 7 here, this left-hander. Gav doing his best to try and flick through all 20 drivers. See if he can get there. We go. Approaching turns 9. He's got to get his line in. He's got a nice corner there, but he goes into the pits again. So is Piero... Oh, I could be wrong here. I don't know if Piero's got a qualifying ban or anything like that, but he's gone out a few times now. Maybe he's invalidating his laps. Who knows? Joss is on an out lap, so we're still yet to see his best effort. Psycho is on a lap, though. He's 600ths down on his first sector time. This is where he'll make the time up, though. Into turn number 4. This right-hander on the power, completely flat through turn 5. Doesn't really exist in the dry. And then 5th gear, he runs a touch deep to Psycho. At turn 6, he's still pretty much with his time at the moment. Ben Roberts with an effort. That's a cracking lap time from the McLaren driver. He was quick round here last season, but we're with Psycho. Down to 6th gear, really nice. Oh, he's lost the back end. That is stylishly executed into the pit lane. I don't think you can give him a penalty for cutting the inside of the track there. That was very nicely held from Psycho, and he's parked that into the pit lane. So, cracking bit of car control from Psycho. See if he does that during a race. I think Gav might give him some extra bonus points. Just for style. Now, Born Winner has to try and fight back to that time that Ben's done. He's improving. This is looking good for Born Winner. He's up again in his 2nd sector. We're following the Ferrari of Joss at the moment, but I'm just watching Born Winner. There's a couple of corners in front. Oh, someone's gone off the road. It's one of the other Ferraris. I think it's Shari. Born Winner will come towards the line. This is an improvement, and it's fastest. It's a 1:04.006. Joss is coming around turn 9. That is an invalidated lap, and back into the pits he goes. So Joss really struggling is the Ferrari man. And he'll have enough time to do another lap, but he's under pressure now. His next lap is going to have to be on it. Otherwise, he will end up at the back of the grid, which is exactly not what you want around this track. Chris is also on a lap in 3rd place. Looking to see whether Chris does make any improvements. Mankin's gone off the road, so he's not improving anymore. Drivers are certainly struggling with the grip levels here in Austria. What can Chris do? Will he go any faster? No, he doesn't. He stays in third place. And Mankin also going back into the pits. Wiggly Style's on, well, he is on a lap, but it's not an improvement. Shortbread's going back into the pits. Money Game, next driver that I can see that is on a flying lap in 11th place. This was a man who's already done racing tonight, but he was at Portimao. He's 200ths of a second down as lap time. This is what the drivers are chasing. Hundredths of a second, not tenths, hundredths of a second. Because setups are really big around Austria. Down to 6th gear for the Mercedes. Towards the line he comes. And that is an improvement to put him in the top 10. Denmark looks like he's going back into the pits, I think. Yeah, there he goes. So Diego, the next driver to try and set a lap time in the Haas. Frizzy, good evening to Frizzy, who had some really good races earlier in Tier 2. Watching the Tier 1 guys getting up to speed. Diego not doing too badly. He's a couple of tenths off the top 10. And also Shari's not too far away as well. So these two certainly showing some improvements from last season. I always do like to talk up about drivers who make improvements. It's always good to see them find that extra bit of pace. Diego, sadly on this lap, isn't doing that. He's half a second down. He'll have enough time to go back into the pits and get another fresh set of tyres. In fact, he's following the pit lane line, which is what I like to see. In other leagues I've competed in, if you cross over the pit line, you get a penalty. So, Gav, maybe something for next season. I'd put that in. Now, Joss, now this is a big lap. This is a big lap. We're going to cut to Joss, who's in 20th place. He's going to start his first lap. I say we're going to cut to Joss. Gav has decided to go to Psycho. There we go. So Joss coming towards turn number 2, this left-hander up to turn 3, which is the hairpin. There's a 15.9 in sector 1, which is about in the ballpark you want it to be to get a time in the top 7. But it's the middle part of the lap where there's a lot of times to be lost and found. Up, down through the gears, down into 3rd for this right-hander at turn 4. Turn 5, gear 6, gear 7. And he'll go towards turn 6, this left-hander. He uses 5th gear, runs all, all the way over the AstroTurf. On the outside line, using all of that and more. And this is looking like a tidy lap, but Joss has to make sure he doesn't invalidate this lap here. He takes a little bit of it, yeah, he took a little bit of a safer line through there to make sure he didn't invalidate. This will get him on the board. This is going to be somewhat of a decent effort for Joss, and that puts him in 5th. I said he was on track for the top 7, and that's exactly what he's done. A 1:04.3. He might just have enough time to get back for another lap. And the other question is, does he have enough tyres? Because that will be vital. So we've got less than 3 minutes remaining in this session, and it is finally poised. In terms of look how close it is less than 2 seconds covering the top 20 drivers, which is everybody. And that is Joss getting back into the pit lane. I don't know if he's got enough time. It's very, very tight. Yeah, and Jolt's saying the same thing that I just spotted. Like, if you look at the gap between 5th and 8th place, the gap is 200ths of a second. Extend that to Mankin, there's 1, 2, 4th through to 8th place are on pretty much within 400ths of a second between 4th and 8th. That's the difference between the 2nd row and the 4th row of the grid. Crazy. Now, Mr. Mankin has gone out early. He's still got 2 minutes to go, but he is going to be the first of the top 6 to go for his final lap of session. Born Winner's just ticked over onto his lap as well. He's not too far behind. They've got to be careful of traffic. Mankin's going quicker. Born Winner has matched his first sector time pretty much. So Mr. Mankin, hopefully we can cut to the Williams in 4th place, is the man on a flying lap. He comes around turns number 5. Now turn 6 is so key. You've got to get the corner tucked in nicely, which he has done. And this is a big improvement. This is a big improvement. 0.2 of a second. Could see him on the front row of the grid if he finds a touch more time. I'm watching Born Winner as well. He's matching his best time at the moment. Ben Roberts has started his flying lap. Ben Roberts is improving. What about Mankin? It's pole position by 1,000th of a second. Wow, what an unbelievably tight gap. Born Winner, can he respond in his Aston? No, he can't. 1,000th of a second. That is unbelievably close. Wow, and they've still got the rest of the... There's so many drivers who are yet to set a lap time. Still yet to set one last flying effort. Ben Roberts... Well, I'll tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Roberts is improving. Oh, I think he's invalidated it, though. He has invalidated it, I think. Let me just watch as he comes through the cut. Yeah, he's going into the pits. He was so close. Psycho has set a fastest middle sector of anybody. Chris is on his outlap. Now, Psycho is up on his time here. I don't know if this is going to be enough for the front row. Oh, and he's invalidated at the final corner. So Jolt, what can he do? Wiggly Styles just in front. I'm trying to follow everybody as best as I can. Dino's up to 10th. Obviously, Chris is improving on his lap. He needs to find a little bit more lap time, though. And that is Natty G going up to 4th place. So that's a really good effort from the Aston Martin. Jolt coming around the final corner. The 2 Alpines are coming around the final corner. Piero goes 11th. Wiggly Style goes 9th. Jolt stays in 8th place. Joss is also on a lap. This is incredibly tight. Shortbread's in the pits. He's done. So it's between Chris and Joss now. Chris is 4/10ths up. This could be an incredible effort from the Red Bull. He's got one corner. He keeps it within track limits. This is going to be it for the line. It's going to be close, but it's pole for Chris. It's a 1:03.8. Can Joss fight back here in Austria? It's going to be tight, but he goes to 5th place. Wow. Wow. That was incredible. I thought Gav was going to have the closest qualifying pole position gap he's ever had in this racing league, but Chris decides to go and smash that away by almost 0.2 of a second. I mean, that is just an unbelievable effort. Let's have a... So, it is incredibly... Chris on pole position. I mean, this is the incredible thing, and Piero's just said this in the comments there, if you can't see it. He's less than he's less than 3/4 of a second behind Chris, and he's not even in the top 10, which just summarises how close this field is. Chris on pole, Mr. Mankin second, then it says other fellow Swede of Born Winner in 3rd. Ben Roberts, Josh, Natty G, Psycho, Jolt, Wiggly Style and Shortbread round out the top 10, with everybody else out of the top 14 separated by less than a second. Jan in 20th place, who's done a really good effort actually for Jan, I have to say. It's 1.8 off pole position. That's incredibly tight. That's incredibly tight. Really good to see. But we've got the sprint coming up. Oh, who is going to take this? This is so tight. It looks like it's going to be dry for the sprint. A little bit of haze over the clouds, or rather I say over the trees there. You can see that's the summer haze. So it's going to be a hot track. That'll have a bit of a factor as well, to be honest. Because that'll affect the tyre wear. Now, the key thing is with Austria, whilst we're here, is that Austria has a tendency to not be sometimes not very punishing on the tyres, but when it gets hot, it changes completely. But we've got the 5 red lights coming up here for the sprint at Austria. And the race is live here in Austria. Looks like a good start for Mr. Mann. Going to be alongside into turn 1. Is Chris going to fight it hard? He's going to try a little bit of contact between the two, as with Ben Roberts and Born Winner. But Mr. Mankin's going to have the inside line approaching turn 3. They're going to be trying to break late. Oh, there's 3 cars in the background there, McLaren, an Alfa Romeo and a Ferrari, but they're all just about coming through this okay. And Chris gets his gets his race lead back. Well done to him. He's brought Born Winner with him. Natty G, one of the only drivers in the top 10 to start on the soft tyres. Everybody else is on the medium compound, but Chris got back in front. That was a vital overtake to maintain his pole position. Then it's Mr. Mankin, Born Winner, Natty G, both Aston Martins together. Will there be some team orders there? Something to figure out for the team principal of Mike Crack. I've got to be very careful of how I pronounce his name. Ben Roberts, Psycho, Joss, Money Game are your top 8. Dino and Wiggly Style are there too. There is one car that's gone backwards, which was Jolt. I didn't see what happened there, sadly. But Jolt has dropped down. And J&B Surreal lost a place. Shortbread picked up a time penalty for jumping the start, and he's got to serve his drive-through, and he's retiring into the pits. And I can understand why. The former champion is on the back foot for the main race. But Natty G looks very good in these opening stages. And it's got to be a question of, does Born Winner let him through? He's on the soft tyre, he moves over to the left, and he is backing out of it. So a bit of team orders going on from Aston Martin. They've released Natty to see if he can go back past Mankin and Chris. We're not expecting any pit stops, regulation pit stops anyway, in this race. And the top 8 have pulled away from Wiggly Style. There's the gap in the field. And if you're on the wrong side of that, it's very tough to try and close that gap back up. Jolt on his own in 19th place. He's decided to carry on racing. He doesn't want to give it up. There's another little gap as well between Feniciose and Diego. So just a couple of little gaps appearing now. We've got the drag reduction system enabled on this lap. So Mr. Mankin will be able to use it out of turn 1 and the DRS will be wide open. And Chris has pushed hard, but he couldn't quite make out over a second on the Williams behind him. But Natty G looks like he wants to get on with this. This is an Aston Martin looking for a race win. This is his celebration weekend, don't forget. And Natty's going to try it. He's going to look to the outside at turn number 4. He can't quite do it there. Can he do the switch back underneath? He gets on the power nice and early. And that could be a good move from the Aston Martin. He should be in front before turn 6, and Mr. Mankin knows better than to fight it. He's on the softer tyres and the better race compound right now. And Natty is off and up the road, but the problem is he's lost the DRS to Chris. Now the good thing for Natty is he's got the soft tyres, so he might be able to close that gap down, but if he can't, he's going to be vulnerable very quickly to the drivers behind. Shortbread's just left a comment to say, if I leave and come... No, it won't, because sometimes it glitches out. But Natty has got to try and use all of his tactical nous and his experience here to close that gap down to Chris. He's got the best tyres, but can he use them? Can he utilise them? Ben Roberts is right with Born Winner. In fact, that's a really good exit for Ben in the McLaren. The battle for 4th, not quite. Shaping up easily, but there goes the send up the inside. Born Winner should get the better traction off the corner here, and he'll have the inside line for turn 6. And sure enough, Born Winner emerges in front of the McLaren for now. Natty trying to use all of those soft tyres as he possibly can, but the problem is he's just not in DRS. He needs to get that gap, and if he can't do it, Mr. Mankin will come back past them pretty quickly. He is pushing. The gap is just hovering around a 1.2 second gap. Dino's picked up a time penalty. That was something that the drivers were worried about in terms of the time penalties. Now look at this gap. 8th place I was going to say, just look at this gap. Let's just watch towards turn 3. Might always be a little late lunch from somebody, but there wasn't. The gap between Money Game, who's in the DRS train, and Wiggly Style is over 2.5 seconds now. The two Alpines are working together really well, though. They're on their own and scoring some points for the team. Diego's up to 11th. Oh, that's Born Winner. Going past Mr. Mankin. Well, that was a timely overtake. He's got his teammate in front of him. And those two will happily work together. So Aston Martin second and third. This is a chance for the team to gain some good points. That's a Ferrari round in the back. I think that's Shari. Yeah, it is Shari, sadly, who's gone round. I think Natty's tyres, whilst they're not lacking in performance, because they're certainly not, they just don't have the same raw speed that they had before. Born Winner isn't going to overtake his teammate into turn 1. He'll stay behind, and he'll try another attack on this lap. So let's see. There we go. He's got the DRS wide open. Should be a fairly straightforward overtake, and Natty has to defend against Mr. Mankin, who's trying to go around the outside. Ben cuts over the curb. He's got to be careful he doesn't get a warning for that. He might have done. Now, can Born Winner do anything about... Oh, tell you something. Can Mr. Mankin do anything about Natty G? He's going to try and go around the outside. He goes off the road. A little bit of battery development from Natty. Should keep him in front. Mankin's got his nose there, but he backs out of it. But that gap has just... Look at the gap between Natty G and Born Winner. That's almost a second. And I think Natty will try and play the team game and try and keep everyone behind him so that Born Winner doesn't have to worry about the cars behind and he could just go after the Chris. I was going to say the Red Bull of Chris, but I decided to say the Chris in that respect. But Natty's under threat. Yeah, new fastest lap from Born Winner. What a surprise. He's now unleashing the taps. Mr. Mankin, though, waiting for the next corner to try and make an overtaking manoeuvre. And this time, this should be straightforward for the Williams, as easy as that. He breezes on through. Ben Roberts trying to follow him as well. He's going to brake a little bit later at turn 3. Nice racing room left by Natty. It almost gives him an extra opportunity to defend from Ben. Ben wants to get on with this. He knows he's going to be quicker than Natty in a lap or two time. And those soft tyres are just starting to fall away for Natty. So, this is where we are currently. Ooh, that's a bit wide from Joss. Don't forget the defending champion in the Ferrari. Ooh, little wiggle from him as well. Psycho's right there. Money Game just hanging on to the back of them. I think Money Game will be hoping for a big crash to take everybody out. Similar to last week when we had 4 into 1 that didn't go. I'm sure that Gav will be hoping that doesn't happen again. Now, can I just want to briefly mention, this is a really good display from the two Alpines. They've worked together. They're 4 seconds clear of Diego's train and everybody behind him. That is top DRS slipstream work from those two. For Wiggly Style and Piero, they're going to be on for some good points here. Natty G is going to get overtaken by Joss, though. And there's not much that Natty can do about that. And through goes the Ferrari. There are lots of fights all over the circuit. We're on lap 8 of the race. And Natty is fighting with Psycho, and Psycho goes through. So Natty's tyres are going by the wayside. And Natty will do well to just hang on to the group of 7 cars in front of him when Money Game goes through. It was a good gamble from him. Don't forget, celebrating that anniversary event today. Ooh, huge snap of oversteer for Natty. Money Game just hasn't found a way through yet. It looks like it's going to be inevitable. They're going to be side by side, and the thing with Money Game is he'll have a little bit of a toe from Psycho towards the top of the hill. And that he brakes a little bit later than Natty. Oh, bit of contact between the two. Just need to give each other a little bit more racing room there. No harm, no foul. That could have been a lot worse. Denmark and Diego having a good scrap for 11th place. They've got the rest of the big rest of the field behind them. I'd love to watch those guys, but there's so much action going on up the front that it's really difficult to hold on. Now, this is something to mention. Joss, what's happened there? The gap between Ben and Joss was nowhere near 2 seconds. It is now. Oh dear. Well, that has not gone to plan. Denmark's gone round. As we move on to lap 10 of the race, but the top drivers in the top 4 are comfortably clear of everybody else around them. Joss is going to get overtaken by Psycho. There's nothing he can do. He doesn't have DRS available to him. But here comes Money Game. Can he go for 2 places in 1 corner? He's going to try it. He's on the inside line. It's all about exit. He just doesn't have the traction. And Joss might get him back. The Ferrari that got overtaken by him might just try and strike back again. Money Game brakes a little bit later. Ooh, he understeers into the side of the Ferrari, but the Ferrari bounces away with it. And Joss only loses the 1 spot in the end to Psycho. But this is a 4-car fight for 5th. Chris is in the lead of this race. He's still pushing. Flat out at the moment. We're on the penultimate lap of the race. He's got to push flat out because Born Winner's not far away from him. He's still right there. Oh, Mr. Mankin runs a bit deep into turn 1. He's lucky that Ben wasn't close enough to try and make a move. Oh, and Joss gets a time penalty. Well, that'll affect his end result, and that is a McLaren way off the road. And Sharry's round as well, so I'm not sure what's happened between those two. Now we are coming towards the final lap of the race after this one. And Born Winner, well, tactically, he's played a little bit of a blinder here. He's pulling that gap right down to Chris. Mr. Mankin doing the same thing as well. So this is on if he can get with it. But this is, oh, that's just wide. He's in the gravel. And he gets overtaken by Natty G, who's holding on well with those soft tyres. I'm impressed by Natty. Chris has got 1 lap to go. Admittedly, Chris is wearing a Ferrari helmet and a bull, but there we are. That's what I've just noticed. But we are on the final lap of the race. And I think Chris is going to just be about safe enough from Born Winner behind and Ben Roberts in tow. Money Game, though, he's got past Psycho for 5th place. And don't rule out Natty. Natty's still right here. Trying to get the power down. He's struggling a bit. Mr. Mankin was shaping up for a move on Born Winner, but he couldn't go through. But Psycho has gone past Money Game on the final lap. An absolute blast of a fight going on between Diego and everybody else for the 11th place. But this has been a really good opening sprint race. Really good to watch. Lots of action through the whole thing, but one man is going to come out in front of everybody else. He got a little bit of a gap at the start, and that was all it took for him to take... Oh, Ben's picked up a time penalty, but it's going to be Chris who takes the victory in the sprint here in the Red Bull Ring. That's a good result for him. Born Winner in 2nd. Mr. Mankin in 3rd. Ben ends up keeping 4th anyway, thankfully for him. Psycho, Natty G are your top 6. And it will be Sharry and Denmark. Well, I'm not really sure what happened to Denmark, but he went round twice in that race. And he'll be starting from 18th place, unfortunately. But that was really, really close racing. Good fighting from everybody on the circuit. So let's just have a look at the result of the sprint then, just to confirm it. Chris wins from Born Winner, Mr. Mankin 3rd. Ben Roberts the only driver to get away with a time penalty and not have it affect him. Psycho, Natty G, Money Game and Joss get the last points in the sprint. Wiggly Style, Piero, Sachetto, JMB Surreal, Fenny Sorose, Jolt, Diego, Dino, Jan, Denmark and Shariel finishing. And Shortbread, the only retirement from the race. I'll be back in just a moment and have a little bit. So we've got overcast weather for this race, but we have intel to say that it's going to be a dry race. The conditions will be cooler though. So that will affect the balance of the cars depending on what type of setup you've taken. So here we go then for the feature race here at Red Bull Ring. And the race is live here at the Red Bull Ring, and that's another good start from Born Winner. Chris hasn't got off the line well. He's going to be under pressure from Mr. Mankin into turn one, who runs him out wide, and that is going to be certainly Chris down to third place. Great start for Born Winner, though. He leads the way. Chris is down to third with Mankin in front. Ben Roberts side by side, trying to go through with Psycho. A little bit of contact with Mr. Mankin, who gets forced out wide. Ben Roberts, though, trying to get on the power as early as he can. He might be able to get into second place. Don't forget Ben running the soft compound tyre. Can he outbrake Chris? Yes, he can is the answer to that question. He's into second place. Now Psycho's gone up the field. Mankin will feel a little bit aggrieved. He got pushed out wide and he's going to lose another spot to Money Game into turn 6, which he does. And Atty G's right there. Wiggly Star, Fenny Sorose up to 9th. What a start for him. Just down in 10th, so not sure what's gone on there. JMB Surreal and Piero all the way back down the field. Not sure what's gone on with those guys. Shortbread up from 20th to 15th. Good start for him. But Born Winner leads the way. But look at the menacing McLaren coming after him. He is right there, is Ben Roberts, and he's going to go for it as best as he can. New fastest lap, of course, from Born Winner. First lap of the race, inevitable. Oh, I think Piero has actually managed to crash in the pit lane. I've just caught that in the background. But Ben Roberts, he wants to get on with this as soon as he possibly can. He's on the inside at turn 3. He brakes later. Those soft tyres are working well, and he takes the lead. Now, it is a question of who is able to look after themselves a little bit better. Chris is looking to the inside of Born Winner, who isn't going to give him too much room, but Chris is alongside him on the exit of turn 5. And they're going to be side by side into turn 6, but Born Winner, will he try and open the... No, he doesn't. Chris is still there. And Born Winner's going to lose the position. That is brave from Chris, but he goes through. And Chris knows how important that move is. He cannot afford to let Ben Roberts get away. Because if Ben gets away on the soft tyres, it's going to be very hard to pull that gap down. And I've got to give credit where it's due. Fenny Sorose is keeping up with the guys. This is the best I've ever seen Fenny Sorose in the opening few laps. Well done, sir. I know he's on the soft, but that's great to see. The number 7 with the bright green helmet running right with the front leaders. That's good, great news, great news. Now, Joss has gone into the pits. He's on the hard tyres, so he pitted early. He's going to one stop here till the end of the race. DRS now enabled, and oh my days, look at all the chaos. Born Winner, Psycho, and Money Game all trying their utmost to close the gap down to the front two. And the problem for Ben is that even though he's got the better tyre, and he won't be as vulnerable to DRS in theory because he can get better exits from the corners in the opening laps, he can't pull away. Strategically, he's going to have to work something pretty special out here, I think. But this has been an absolutely frantic opening couple of laps. Absolutely unbelievable. Further down, Jolt's trying to pick his way through the gang. Don't forget, Shortbread and Jolt, they both finished low down earlier. Shortbread obviously retiring, so started last. These two want to work together to pull themselves up through the field. They're not far away from the leading 8 now, because Fenny's just lost the DRS, sadly. They're not far away from them, though. Now, Chris getting in the mirrors of Ben. They're actually about to come up and lap Piero, so something's gone horribly wrong for him after such a good sprint. Diego gets overtaken by Jolt for 12th and Shortbread as well, and Psycho goes past Money Game, but he's on the outside line. And he goes through. Good move, really good move from Psycho into 4th place. Mr. Mankin there in 6th, Natty 7th. They've dropped Wiggly style, so the soft tyre runners of Wiggly and Fenny have gone. It's now a fight between the top 7. I wonder what Joss's pace will be like on the hard tyres. I have to see how he gets on, but that's a very early call from the reigning champion. Chris isn't close enough yet, but he might be on this lap. Let's see, we've got DRS wide open. Ben takes a defensive line, but then slots back onto the racing line instead. But they're all together, they're all so close to one another. And then there's a fight between Dino and the rest of the gang. So there's two big groups who are fighting for position here. And the main one that we're focusing on is the race lead fight. Can Ben do anything about the cars behind? He's got to fight tactically now, Ben. He's going to try and not take too much out of the tyres if he can. He'll have lots of clean air in front of him, but battery usage is very important around Austria. And some drivers are certainly using it a lot better than others. Now, Chris has got a good chance this time around. Opens up the DRS, he's closing the gap down, but he's not close enough. So he'll try again on the exit of turn 1. He's got that gap, rear wing slot wide open. This looks a lot better for Chris. Here he comes in the Red Bull. Oh, that is a nice dummy. And he's going to go to the inside line. Not much Ben could have done about that. Born winner trying to take advantage of that, but it wasn't close enough. Natty G does, though. And he gets past Mankin for 7th place. But Ben goes flying back past the Red Bull, and he's in the lead of the race again. So, all change between the drivers not in 1st and 2nd. They're back in the status quo that they were in before. Jolt in the top 10, fighting with Fenny Sarosi. And he's about 5 seconds behind this fight for the top 7. So Jolt's not completely out of this yet, but he needs to take Shortbread with him realistically, but Shortbread's stuck behind a bunch of other cars. You're looking at those two drivers who in theory should be able to join this fight. So this time Chris is once again really close to the back of Ben. And this should be another straightforward move, and Ben not going to fall for the dummy. He's just going to keep his car on the outside line. So Chris has to take that tighter line into the corner. And this is the thing for Ben, is he's got a better run off the corner, but Chris is ahead because he got DRS. Nicely done. Born winner can't take advantage of this, and Mr. Mankin's dropped out of DRS. Very briefly, Natty G has as well. I wonder if they've had a little bit of contact between the two. Let's just drop them away. Mankin's back into DRS. Natty really needs to push. If he loses DRS, he won't get back in it. Wiggly Star doing a good job just to keep these guys honest in 8th place, though. Has to be said. So another lap we go. This time Chris leads. And Ben will want to try and stay with Chris if he can. Maybe even try and overtake him. We come towards turn 1 again. Piero over time penalty, who's just in front of this group actually is Piero. And I'm looking at the gap, that's Money Game past Psycho. That's a big move. And Natty did get back into DRS range, so that's a big one. But lots of action on track here. And Ben's closing the gap, but he won't be close enough to make a move into turn 4. Now, all the drivers are certainly putting themselves in a good position in terms of the energy recovery system. They've all got a healthy amount of battery here. All but 2. I won't mention their names, obviously, because I know people listen to the stream. The other 2 have got enough, I would say, at this point in the race, but they would want a little bit more. I know I would. Now, Wiggly Style, what do I know, though? I'm only a commentator. Now, Wiggly Style is in 8th place. He's got Jolt a couple of seconds behind. And Shortbread's lost the pace. He's lost the back of everybody. So Shortbread is going to have a really long afternoon here in Austria, I think, if he can't get past Sachetto. Those gaps outside of the top 10 just starting to spread out a little bit. So this fight for the top 7 is where it is at the moment. That's where the tactical battles are being held. I have to say, Piero's pace has been really good, actually. Can I just say, because I know he's in 20th place and he's about to be lapped, but he's spent a number of laps in front of these guys who've been changing places with the DRS. That's a shame what's happened to him. I'm not sure why he's so far down. But if he can take anything from this race, is that he had the pace to keep up to date. But he's gotten the blue flag. He's going to have to get out of the way. Ooh, big snap of oversteer. And that is Piero getting out of the way. That's good sportsmanship from him. He did it in a safe place as well. And he can just try and hang on to the back of these guys if he can. You never know if there's a safety car. Might just work in his favour. Born winner though, that wants to work in his favour. He goes through. And Mr. Mankin's got a 5-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flag. What did he do? That is peculiar. And Chris has lost the lead. Born winner's trying to go around the outside of him. They're side by side on the exit of turn 4. Approaching turn 5 and 6. Born winner's going to have the inside line and he goes through. And these guys, oh, good switch back from Chris and he gets the lead back. This is a similar top 3 to what we had last season with Ben Roberts, Born winner, and Chris fighting for race victory. This is where Born winner was really quick last season at Austria. It was a different game back then. There's a yellow flag out there. Someone's just going slowly, I think. But this is now a fight between the top 3. Psycho is pushed hard and he's just fought himself back into DRS range. I don't know how he's managed it. But credit where it's due. Just looking where everybody else is. Born winner to the outside line and Chris lets him go. And then dives back one up the inside again. And he's trying to play the DRS game. But Ben Roberts doesn't care about tactics. He just wants to get in front. Now Chris moves over to the left, which gives the slipstream back to Born winner. But Ben is on the inside, and there isn't much that Born winner could have done then. He just sort of slid towards the corner and had to concede place. The top 7 then back together again after being separated by about a second and a half. Wiggly Styles back there on his own in 8th place, but he's about to be joined by Jolt and Dino. Those soft tyres just starting to struggle for those that are running them. And I think the next question becomes, when does Ben pit? Because his pit stop's going to be really vital for everybody in terms of how long they can run the soft tyres for. Well, Ben Roberts has shown some really good race pace on those soft tyres. He darts to the inside line. And Chris keeps trying to get that DRS, but I think it's going to. I think at some point it could end up in an accident. I can understand why Chris is doing it because he's trying to get that advantage with the DRS, but that might catch somebody out that, and they might crash into the back of him. And unfortunately, if it was a steward's investigation, he'd get done for it. But they're still fighting. This is great racing between the two, and Chris just gets underneath, goes back through. I was watching Mr. Mankin overtaking Money Game for 5th place. And Piero just about keeping up with this lot as well. A fair play to Piero. I know that he's a lap down and we're on only the 3rd point of the race, but he's really putting a good shift in. He's not retired. I don't think Gav's ever had 20 drivers finish a race. Let's hope that happens. We nearly had it last week. In terms of a full, well, a practically full, we did have a full lobby last week, but we didn't have a all drivers finish. So, Ben, DRS wide open. I don't think Chris will need to back out of it this time, and he doesn't. So Chris will want to fight back. He'll just want to get on the power nice and early as he can. Little slide, though. That's going to make this overtake more challenging than what he would have wanted. Ben defends to the inside, then moves to the racing line. Gives Chris the inside. Oh, contact. And that's Ben sort of almost off the road. He manages to keep in front. Born winner will probably let him go back in front. A bit of contact there. Got to be careful. Don't want a damaged car, because Austria is the worst track to have a damaged machine at. Put it that way. Now, Jolt isn't too far away, actually. He's caught up to the back of Wiggly Style. And Piero picks up another time penalty. Let's just have a look at these quick positional gains. Jolt up 5 places, Dino up 6, Shortbread up 9. Piero sadly has lost 10 places from where he started. But we're on lap 14. 7-car fight. 6 different manufacturers represented as Natty G. Ooh, they all sort of close up together. Money Game kind of turned into Natty G there in the background. And lets Natty go back in front. Now the question, I said this before, when does Ben Roberts pit? His tyres, I'm impressed that his tyres have lasted as long as they have done. Really, we've seen a couple of drivers, Shari, Jan, they're in a hard compound. They've pitted. The other thing I want to make mention, the front drivers, that gap was 28 seconds when he pitted. It's 24 now. And those hard tyres will be a lot better off at this point in the race than those that are on these medium and soft tyres. Obviously later on, if Josh does take the lead, he'll be very vulnerable to new tyres behind him. Now that is a Alpine in the pits, that's Wiggly Style. He's had enough of his softs. So how many laps more does Ben have left available to him? Fenny Sarose also comes in. So Ben is now the only driver left out on circuit who started on the soft compound tyre. Oh, a big snap of oversteer from Ben there, from my view. He's managed to keep hold of it. Despite his big snap of oversteer, he's right with Chris. Jan, ooh, Psycho running very wide. Out of turn 4. Now the next question becomes, who's going to be the first to blink of the drivers in this top 7 fight? Who will be the first driver to make the decision to pit? You see Born Winner's trying everything that he can, but he's not going through there. And we will see now what happens. Natty G doing what a 40 would have done at this point in the race. Ben is trying his up. Oh, and Jolt picks up a time penalty, so even if he does catch this group, that 3 seconds is quite troublesome at this point of the race. So, Chris running in the lead. There's a yellow flag out there. That's just for a slow car. No one's crashed. It looked like it was one of the Alpines, I think it was. So Ben's there once more. He is trying to go through. I've got to keep saying it, but I'm really impressed with this tyre management from Ben. He's stretching out the advantage as much as he can on the drivers around him. Can he make it stick? Frizzy, yeah, you're saying the same thing that I'm thinking, to be honest. Let's see if that happens. But Chris, that's Ben in the pits. Now that was very close for Ben. Psycho in the pits, Mr. Mankin in the pits. So they're all responding now to Natty G's undercut. Natty pitted the lap before, and he's been pulling time on everybody in front of him. Those new hard tyres right up to speed already. So Chris and Bourne Winner carry on. Looks like everybody's... Mr. Mankin's obviously going to serve his time penalty. Where is Natty? It's going down the main straight now. This looks like it's going to work for Natty. It does indeed. He's right there with Ben, but I tell you what, Ben has gone for the medium tyres. Because obviously his compound, he run those softs long, and that's put him in a great position. So Ben Roberts might just be on for a great race. Natty's got to work hard now. He's got to try and keep up. They're very clear of Psycho and Money Game. If anything, they've extended the advances. So Natty G, once again, using his experience to call the tactics the way that he would have wanted. Bourne Winner goes into the pits. Now, I know what Chris is going to try and do. Chris is going to try and run those medium tyres for as long as possible so that he can jump on the softs. The problem is he going to have enough tyre advantage over those that are on the mediums later in the race to pull this off? It's going to be tactically fascinating. Bourne Winner, though, comes into the pits. He's also gone for the hards. It's a Red Bull 1-2 at the moment. Shortbread's in the pits, Sachato's in the pits. Now, where does Bourne Winner come out? He's going to come out behind Ben and probably Natty. And that is the answer. But those three have put themselves over 2.5 seconds clear of Psycho and Money Game. So this is now, this has got all the hallmarks of being an incredible fight between all the drivers who were originally in the top 7. That looks like that gap's been cut down, to be honest, because Ben Roberts, Natty and Bourne Winner, well, I haven't said that, Bourne Winner's fighting to stay in the DRS. Psycho and Money have been gapped, and Joss is in 8th place, but he's yet to pit, so he's probably going to hope for a safety car. Now Chris carries on, Dino is also carrying on, so the two Red Bulls now the only two drivers who are yet to make a pit stop in this race. And Ben Roberts, new fastest lap of the race. Now the thing with Dino being left out there, this is again tactical from Red Bull. Dino's out there, he can just have a buffer to stop Ben from coming through or try and even delay him by a lap or two. But the problem is that Chris is losing time. You know, Natty is, I've got to say, Natty's doing very well to keep up. And they've both dropped Bourne Winner out of the DRS range. So the championship leader trying to scramble his way onto the back of these two, but that's going to be so challenging when Ben's setting the pace on the medium tyre. And Natty's within DRS of him. Now, Natty is right up behind the Red Bull of Dino. Can he make an overtake into what I imagine would be turn? Well, look how much quicker he is. He runs into the back of the Red Bull, does Ben Roberts. He's got to get on with this move as soon as he can. But the thing is that Dino is acting as a really good buffer. He can't get through there. Oh, and you can see how frustrated Ben is. He just can't get past the Red Bull yet. Now he's going to try again. And this time you feel that Dino's not going to have much left in the car to go through. He doesn't. Ben goes through. Natty's trying to follow him. Oh, that's brave from Natty G, but he goes through. That's a good move. Very good racing between Natty and Ben and Dino there to make it through safely. It has latched Bourne Winner back into within a second of the group in front of him, but he's also now got to get past Dino, which is going to be challenging when he's trying to protect his team leader. We go on to lap 20, and Chris goes round again. I reckon Chris will be in the next 2 or 3 laps, to be honest, to give all of the soft tyre as much of a chance as they can. But I'm looking at the gaps. Psycho's dropped Money Game in the meantime. Now Ben does not want to have Natty G anywhere near him. The problem is he just can't pull away. And it's sooner rather than later, the medium tyres will not have the same performance advantage as the hards. But this is the other question. Born Winner has got past Dino for 4th place. So the next driver that will be hunting down Dino is Psycho. Joss is out of the top 10, by the way, so his hard tyres just, well, he's just, as I say that, just re-overtaken Wiggly style. But the thing for Joss is he's got to hope that those hard tyres can last the rest of the race. I don't know if they can. I'm not saying they can't, but that is a challenge. Race leader in the pits. Chris goes into the pits then. He's going for those soft tyres. He'll have 15 laps on them. Dino has gone round. Sadly, it was inevitable at some point, unfortunately for Dino. But he's on the soft tyres is the Red Bull. Now, what is his gap to Ben Roberts, who will take the lead of this race? It's going to be an Aston Martin 2-3 as they cross over the start-finish line. Chris will be getting up to speed now. It's going to be close with him and Psycho. Yeah, Psycho knows. Oh, big snap of oversteer for Psycho. Psycho knows he wants, if he can stick with Chris, he'll pull him right up through the field. Now, Chris has got to find 5 seconds on Ben, who leads the race. Now, on those soft tyres, that should be doable. But he doesn't want to take Psycho with him, and he's using his battery now to pull away. Well, 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 here we go. We are coming up to the 3/4 mark of the race. Ben Robert leads. Natty's in 2nd place. Born Winner fighting unbelievably hard to try and get back into DRS. I've been really impressed with his pace tonight. And then Chris, 2.3 seconds behind. Expect to see fastest lap go the way of the Red Bull. He will have the tyre advantage to catch the cars in front. The question then becomes, does he have the tyres at the end of the race to stay ahead? That'll be the new question. But he is absolutely scything the gap down. New set of soft tyres. He's going to be within a DRS range before the end of this lap, guaranteed on Born Winner. He's got 2 steps softer tyres than the 2 Aston Martins in front of him. And that means they're going to be about 1.6 seconds a lap slower, in theory, than Chris. So Natty G and Ben Roberts, who are in 1st and 2nd, are going to have to try and work together here to work out what to do when Chris inevitably catches up to them. And like I said, before the end of the lap, Chris will be within DRS. He's already there. Frizzy saying, nice to see different strategies. It is nice. It's always good to see different battles going on circuit. And good evening to everybody who is just joining us. We've had a brilliant first half of the race. We're now in the 3/4 mark. Loads of different strategies on offer, as you can see throughout the field. Now here comes Chris, a new fastest lap of the race. And Chris electing just to stay behind Born Winner for the time being. There's not really much that Born Winner's going to be able to do here to defend. DRS, slipstream, breezes on through. And the Red Bull is up to 3rd, and Natty and Ben are going to have to work together on this. If they want any chance of a race victory, they've got to try and delay Chris is probably the best answer there, the best statement to make. But we will see, because if they could stop him even for a few laps, it might just burn his tyres out. But realistically, that is going to be very challenging. Born Winner isn't out of this race yet because he's within a second of Chris. He'll get DRS and he'll get back up to the group in front of him. Well, Chris doesn't have DRS yet, but he will do on this DRS line here. He should have it. Yeah, he has. So Chris will get his first bite of the DRS. There's a yellow flag out there. That's just for Dino having a bit of a moment. He's back. He's going fine, so he's not lost too much time. Here comes Natty G for the race lead. These two can't fight too hard now, because Chris will take any advantage that he can. And look at that gap coming down. And Born Winner's joined them. Natty G was on the grass there trying to overtake Ben Roberts for the race lead. Riding on board with Chris to watch this. Chris just needs a good exit. He could get past the pair of them if he was clever about it, but He slots in behind. Born Winner out of the DRS again. But if he can just keep up this pace, he'll stick with the group. Look how much quicker Chris is through here. He wants to get on with this as Chris, but he won't have the line he wants into turn 9. Oh, it's a little bit wide from Natty. Oh, and Chris has picked up a time penalty. How crucial could that end up being? Chris knows he's got to get on with it now, and he's going to look to the inside at turn 1. And he brakes just that little bit later. He's got more grip than Natty G and Ben. So he goes through into second place, but keep an eye on that penalty. In fact, Chris is going for it. He knows he's got to try and go past Ben Roberts. Ben's not going to go defensive, and he isn't. Chris is on the inside at turn 3. And that's move done. Natty's trying to get alongside Ben, but he can't do it. And the best thing for Chris is that he got DRS as well. So Natty's going to strike back at him, and this is a nightmare for these two. Oh, that is late from Natty. Ben's trying to go back up the inside, and they're just playing into the hands of Chris, because if he gets away from DRS, I can't see them catching him at this point in time. Because those soft tyres are going to be so rapid now. And look at it, he's gone. He's absolutely gone. And Natty sending that move up the inside might have just cost these three a race victory here. It's not over yet. Chris has still got to get another 2.5 seconds pretty much, but they've just made that a lot more challenging for themselves. And Chris was saying one of his targets was to try and not get a time penalty. Well, here comes Ben Roberts for second place again. Natty's going to have to work this one out tactically. Yeah, he does. He backs out of it. Oh, huge snap of oversteer for Natty on the brakes there. Mr. Mankin's going to go past Moneygame. Don't forget, Moneygame and Mankin were in the top 7 fight before. They're now... Oh, Mankin's gone well off the track, actually. You know, to finish my point, you know, they were right with those top 4 before, and they're 12 seconds behind now. Just shows you what happens when you don't have DRS. And Chris's gap is swelling more and more. The problem is, though, is that Chris is running low on battery. Everyone else is, well, in the top 3. It's not great, but it's a little bit better than Chris. Psycho running in 5th place. He's on his own now. He's got no one behind him, no one with him, so it's going to be a lonely last quarter of the race for the Alfa Romeo. Moneygame and Mr. Mankin still fighting over 6th place. Jolton Shortbread at 8th and 9th. Wiggly style in the top 10. And Joss has decided to pit. He might as well go for it. Go for the soft tyres. See if he can get fastest lap. He won't get a point though. He's outside the top 10. Now, a change of position here. Born Winner overtakes Natty G for 3rd. And if anybody can close that gap to Chris, whose soft tyres will just start to be struggling a little bit at this point. If anyone can close the gap down, it's Born Winner so far this season. He showed great pace. The medium tyres of Ben will be perfectly fine at this point, but the performance of Chris's tyres will probably go in the next lap or 2, I'd say. And you can see that the gap is just about to broach 3 seconds, and that's the magic number that Chris is after. But I'll tell you something, Born Winner is looking very ominous in the rear wing of that McLaren. And sure enough, he knows it's time to get on with it. He's got past his teammate, and he's going to go after Ben Roberts, which he does. Next target is Chris. How will Chris's tyres last towards the end of this race? The gap is hovering at around 2.7 seconds. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. This could go to anybody. But you feel that it is finally poised with 6 laps to go after this one. Everybody else fighting over the position. I mean, Mr. Mankin and Moneygame are the closest fight on circuit outside of the fight for second. They've swapped positions a few times, but we are keeping an eye on Born Winner, Ben Roberts and Natty G. Natty just scrambling for grip through the right-hander at turn 9. Chris is getting that gap back up again. And he's going to lap Feni Sarose, actually, whilst we say that is Chris. So born winner right then. Ben Roberts is going to go up the inside for second place. They can't afford to squabble too much because Chris will just pull away. And the other thing is Chris actually got DRS because he was behind Feni Sarose then. And Ben's back into second place, but the gap's over 3 seconds. This brings Natty G right back into the fold because these two keep fighting. Money Game re-overtakes Mankin for 6th place. Although, to be fair, these two have fought so hard that Jolt's actually right with them. Oh, and Ben Roberts has got a time penalty. Now. It was okay. With Ben Roberts, it's almost, sadly, sometimes it's almost an inevitability that he gets a penalty because he does pick them up quite frequently. But that gap's going bigger. And that's the last thing that Born Winner and Natty G will want. It's good news for Aston Martin for the Constructors' Championship because they're going to be on for a double podium here. But it could have been first and maybe third. Because Born Winner needs to get past Ben. With the last few laps to go, you just feel that the tyre performance of Chris, you look at the gaps. In fact, Chris is using this wisely. He's not stupid. He's staying with Feni Sarose, who's got new, fresh, soft tyres on. And Feni Sarose was very quick earlier today. And if he can just keep up with the Haas, he'll just keep pulling away. So Born Winner has to get on with it. Psycho's got a time penalty, Mankin's got a time penalty, Jolt's got a time penalty, but he's almost caught Mankin and Money Game. I don't think the guys behind have realised that Feni Sarose is basically towing Chris around the track here. And this could be an ingenious move from the Red Bull to win the race here. So Born Winner is going to try and attack again. He's got to get on with it, and he's going for it. This is it, on the inside at turn 3. No, he decides to slot in behind. The gap goes up to 4 seconds. This isn't working between these guys. Oh my God, Feni Sarose has just wiped out Denmark. There's a virtual safety car because of that. Now, we were watching the fight between the Red Bull of Chris, Ben Roberts and co. But I've just seen Feni Sarose on his new soft tyres absolutely obliterate Denmark into the wall. That'll be a slam dunk penalty for the Haas, unfortunately. And Denmark's got a broken front wing, and I can really understand if Denmark wants to punch something right now because that was not on. So we wait for the VSC to go green again. And this brings 4 laps to go. And Ben Roberts is now nearly 6 seconds behind Chris. And this is almost looking like a slam dunk for the race victory now for Chris. Maybe look at this, Ben can't go any quicker. The gap's now starting to come down a little bit. When will it go green? There it goes now. So on the brakes into the final corner, so he got a good time for it. And Chris was able to take DRS there. So everyone saved a little bit of battery under the VSC, caused by Denmark being punted into Narnia. Back markers getting out of the way for Ben Roberts and Born Winner, and Natty G for that matter. But the gap's come down again. And Chris is going to be absolutely flying now. He's got a little bit of battery, but the problem is everybody else behind him, they've got more. So this is it. 3.7 seconds is the gap between Ben and Chris. You feel that Ben and Chris's tyres are kind of at the same point here. You know, you feel that they're just sort of battling for the same tyre. At this point, Born Winner is probably the driver with the best set of tyres on out of the leading 4. But if he wants to take the race victory, he's got to get past Ben, and he's not doing it yet. And I feel that Chris is going to pull away. And I think that that gap is not going to come down. I just don't feel that Ben at this point in the race now can go quicker than Chris's tyres. I could be wrong. That could be proven completely wrong in the next lap, but the gap's the same as what it was before. Joss is up to 11th. He's trying to fight back, by the way. But the problem is, I don't think he's going to get any higher than that. So here we are, with a couple of laps remaining. The fights have been excellent on circuit. 2 laps to go. Ben Roberts has just got DRS from one of the cars in front of one of the back markers. And that's Jan. Piero goes and sets the fastest lap of the race. Well done, son. So Ben Roberts moves past the back marker. It's going to be on this last lap, I feel. The next lap, if Born Winner... I feel that Born Winner, whilst I appreciate his tactics of what he was trying to do, I think he's just left it too late in the race. I could be wrong. That gap is coming down between Ben and Chris, but just not by enough, I don't think. Jolt's also right with Money Game for 7th place. But we are just a couple of kilometres away from the race ending here. Natty G, I think, has just lost DRS actually. But he's got to make sure that he stays within 3 seconds of Ben. We go on to the final lap. Chris is on lap 36. What does Born Winner have left in him? He's got the battery to use. He's got the DRS on Ben in front of him. If he wants to go past them, it's got to be now. It has to be now. He can't afford to dilly-dally any longer. Nicely done from the Aston Martin. He's going to go through. Yes, he does. Into 2nd place goes the Aston Martin, and he make a little bit of contact. They should be fine though. But Ben has DRS. And Ben's going to go back on through. They're just fighting over 2nd place now. Chris has got away with it. To use Fenny say earlier on, has worked out perfectly for the Red Bull. And that, combined with the VSC, has saved Chris towards these last few laps. The Red Bull is going to round the final corner. Keeps it nice and tidy. No problems for the Red Bull. It's another victory for Chris in the Weekend League 1. It's going to be Ben crossing the line in 2nd, but it'll actually be Born Winner. And Natty G in 3rd. Ben will end up 4th place. That was some excellent racing. We will chat with our drivers. Which will be great to get their opinions of what has been a really good race today. We'll see what their various thoughts and opinions are. Diego's going to cross the line in 12th. Sachetto in 13th, I would imagine. And Dino and JMB Surreal squabbling for the last drivers on the lead lap. It's JMB is Surreal who wins that fight thanks to Dino's extra penalty he has. And Natty, yeah, well done Natty. He has just come, I've been mentioning it all the way through, this is Natty's 150th race. It's been a special event for him. He's got himself a podium. That is an absolutely great result for him. 150th race in Gavra. Gets a 3rd position. We'll have a chat with him about that afterwards on the interview area. But well done to Chris, taking his first win of the season here in Austria to go with his sprint victory. You got Born Winner and Natty G in the top 3. That's Ben, Psycho and Mr. Mankin in the top 6. Psycho's complaining of some issues with the... Psycho complaining of some issues actually with the pit box release. Mr. Mankin got a 5-second time penalty, which I thought was a bit odd. I even said it at the time. he was actually lapping a back marker, but I think that is in the... I think if you overtake someone under yellow flag, regardless of a back marker, I think that gives you the penalty, unfortunately. So Mr. Mankin ended up in game 7th, Shortbread 8th, Jolt 9th, and Wiggly Style gets the final point. So good set of races for the Swede. It's Josh in 11th place, Diego 12th, Sachetto in 13th with JMB Surreal 14th, Dino in 15th. Then a lap down, we had Jan, Denmark, Fenny Sorose, and Piero was a lap again further than that, so 2 laps down. And Shari ended up finishing last, but for the first time ever in Gav, I want to say when I've watched it anyway, we have all 20 drivers finishing the race. That's a lovely way to sort of end the racing on track, and we can go over to the interviews. So we will get our drivers in for the interviews to have a chat. We'll see what their thoughts are regarding everything. We've got a couple of people who are just coming in. So we'll give everybody a chance to join in. So we will wait and see. We'll get the thoughts and opinions. Hopefully we'll get Natty in as well, celebrating his 50th podium in Gavra racing in his 150th race. So it's a great strike rate that he has. But really, really intriguing race in the end. Lots of on-track action, lots of fights all the way through the field. Looked like there was a few little squabbles, no doubt, in the post-race stewards area, I should say. We do have a few people joining us now. So we'll give everybody else a chance to phase in, but whilst we've got our top 3 here in the well, I say top 3 rather, the top 3 on track. Actually, no, that's not even correct either. We've got 3 drivers from the top 4. Let's have a chat with them. So Chris, we'll start with you. You can unmute yourself. Hopefully you can hear me. But 2 race wins today, the sprint and the race victory. Tell me about
that. So going into this race, it was a bit of a mixed mindset, because of course, I didn't do any practice going to this race, but I was already really confident because I've done many races here, and my pace was really good. So going into the sprint, when Ben Roberts, Natty, and everybody was really fighting hard, in the sprint, I just decided just to phase out that 1 second and just got out of it and just managed to gap the entire race as the tires were starting to go down. Until then, the race, it was a very close fight into the flat 1, but I just wanted to try and get track position and also try and get bone winner especially, which is a really nice move. I kind of just looked back on it just now. It was a really nice move, but you know, good racing between me and him. And yeah, it was a difficult race, and up until the pit stop phase. After that, going to the soft, I think was a really, really good strategy. As now everyone's on the mediums or the hards, so that means like the battery, not only the battery, but also help my tires, so I don't really have to push just off of clean air. So you know, it is really good to have that DRS. So yeah, but I was also praying that they were battling a lot. They actually were, with Natty, Ben Roberts, and Bournemouth. They were battling really hard, so that really also helped solidify that gap.
Yeah, no, that's very true, and I mentioned that on stream when they were fighting too hard, and that just cost them DRS with you originally, and then later in the race with your 3-second time penalty. Now we've got a bit of a break before we go to Saudi Arabia, 2 weeks away from now, but a scene of some pain for you, Chris, to be honest, considering we've been there and it's gone on. What's your strategy for this time around? What are you hoping for?
Of course, the main part is trying to just try and go for that race win. I think I'm gonna try and set myself up quite high here because I actually had the league race yesterday. So the pace is really good for me. I really like the track for Jeddah, and of course the main part is to get revenge on Shortbread, because yeah, it's a very gutted moment, but hopefully now is just the redemption for Jeddah, but main part is trying to claw back some points to Born Winner because he's doing a quite good job, especially in Portugal with that win. So the main part is just to claw that gap up again to Born Winner because it will be very difficult if I don't get these race wins or a P2 or even a podium. So it's just all about the catching up and damage limitation for me.
Fair enough, Chris. Well done on both of your victories today in the sprint and the race, and hopefully your form carries on into Jeddah in 2 weeks' time.
Fantastic. Thanks for the commentary as well.
Thanks, mate. All right, so we're going to go over to the party area. I know that Chris is going to have a big party, but I imagine Natty G and his fans are going to be celebrating over his 1 in 3 statistic, 50 podiums in 150 races. Natty, how are you feeling, mate?
That was an amazing race. I loved it every second. I didn't actually really clock that it was my 150th race until like halfway through. I know I've been saying that to myself like the entire week, that this is my 150th race. Could get my 50th podium, but it's like, oh, only until I pitted, I was like, oh, hang on a minute, this is quite an important race that I'd like to get a good result in.
It's funny because you did exactly what you said you were going to do and copy from a few seasons back when you pitted earlier than everybody else, and that started the chain reaction of pit stops, and yet you were the one who came out of it with the advantage over all the other drivers you pitted later on.
Yeah, I was quite thankful that no one done their homework going into this race. I was like, you know, I even said to myself on I think lap 5 or lap 6, I'm going to pit on lap 15, 16, whenever it was, 2 laps before the scheduled pit stop. And I mean, it was like a deja vu from last season. I think I went from 8th to 4th on track, but then Dino had stayed out, so it was a net P3. And I couldn't have asked for a better result, to be honest.
No, exactly. It's a fairy tale story for you to get that 50th podium in your 150th race event with Gavra. I mean, one of my final question for you, obviously you're going to go off and celebrate, but what is your target for this season? Because, you know, once again, you've been scoring points. I think you finished 6th, didn't you, in the sprint? So you'll be on 30 points. You know, that's a decent place to be for the championship standings. But what are your targets for this season?
I mean, every season I never like to say that I'm going for the championship, but this season I think I'll let not Money Game, well, whoever it wants, Born Winner, I can't forget the name of my teammate, Born Winner and Chris, I'll let them battle it out for the Drivers' Championship and anyone else who wants to get involved in that. But this season I'm going for it with Born Winner, working with him every single race to win the Constructors' Championship. That is the goal. I won't accept anything less than first this season. I really want to go for it.
Yeah, well, that is a great attitude to have, Natty, and hopefully you can bring that positivity in your 151st event in a couple of weeks' time. But well done today. Well done today on the results. Well deserved.
Thank you.
We're going to go over to the man who finished 4th in the end, was on track to finish on the podium. We're going to go over to Ben Roberts, or as my new nickname might be for you, Captain Penalty, because it seems that you seem to get them quite a bit more than everybody else. What happened?
Yeah, no, I said on the chat as well, I didn't get a single warning until about lap 21. I was really confident that I had the pace, I'd done no practice, and the soft deg at the start was just ridiculous. I mean, I knew from the sprint that it'd be bad, but I thought I could get a bit of a gap over the other guys, and that never happened. So I thought I'd be dropping back to like 10th. Managed to keep within the DRS of Chris, just kept like keeping with him every lap, and then I thought, you know, I'll have the advantage on the mediums. Unfortunately, obviously, when I come out the pits, just got caught up battling with Natty. But yeah, I think overall it's probably better than I anticipated doing. But at the same time, when you're right there battling for second and you come out fourth, it's just a bit disappointing. But you know, you got to go for the max points you can get.
I thought, to be honest with you, I was really impressed with how you managed the soft tyres in that opening stint, like you said, because I saw other drivers on the softs and they were falling down the grid pretty quickly, but you were right there showing some really good pace. I mean, you've got to be comforted by that a little bit, surely, because that's impressive to know that that's in your back pocket to keep the tyres alive for a bit longer.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was definitely well managed on the tyres today. And was able to keep with them, which I really didn't think I'd be able to do. But yeah, still obviously going forward in the championship, like I didn't score any points in the first race in Portugal with that early spin. So it's just about trying to claw it back now and trying to just get in the championship fight. You never know if there's like, you know, a DNF at the top. So there's always hope that I'll be able to get something. I think the constructors is a bit out of the question now, with Aston Martin just kind of storming away with it. And I don't think Chris was in for the first race as well, so Born Winner should be clear at the top of the drivers. But yeah, just go into next weekend and hopefully regroup, hoping that Steps is back next weekend, so we can at least try and push for some better points.
If my maths is correct, I think you're something about 28 or so points behind Born Winner, but there's plenty of the season to go. So when you say claw it back, you're not as far away as you might think.
Yeah.
But this will feed into my last question about Jeddah, a source of mixed fortune for you, because I've watched you in Tier 2 and Tier 1, and you've had some really good results and less so ones before. What are you aiming for at Jeddah?
Yeah, I felt good on the last game at Jeddah, but on this game, I've not really done very many laps on it at all, to be honest. Obviously, we've got 2 weeks going into it, so I've got plenty of time to practice for it. But yeah, not really too confident on the track. There's like one curve that can just kind of beat you, and then you've like completely ruined the lap. And if that happens in the race, you're going to lose so much time. So it's just about consistency there. It's going to be a very tricky race. I hope it's not another 50% race, but I really enjoyed that one today. You know, we're all about just having fun, and it was close racing, but all fair. There's a couple moments where I got forced wide, but you know, it's racing, it's hard racing, and we'll go into it like that. So, you know, fair play from everyone, and hopefully we get more of that going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. I'm looking forward to the on-track action as much as you are driving it. But well done today, anyway. You know, a brace of 4th places. It should put you, if my maths is correct, it should put you on 17 points. So not bad points haul recovery from last week. So let's hope you can carry on that form next week.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. See you later. So we'll go over to the last driver who's jumped in for interviews, which is Money Game, who featured in quite a few fights today across the drivers. I know that he was fighting early on in the race with the top 7. He was part of the top 7 in that fight for the victory. Then he was having some big battles with Mr. Mankin. Money Game, hopefully you can hear me. You've unmuted your mic as well, so it's good news. How did that go for you today? Because it looked like a real big battle out there.
It was good, but I struggled a lot with my tyre wear. But I had the best battles with Psycho and Mr. Mankin, which ruined half of my wear. Like, yeah, I was just trying to stay within track limits, but then in the sprint it didn't go well because I think it was like the second last corner, I just hit the curb and then slid, and it
Yeah.
went off by like the tiniest bit ever. So
That is a shame because you know you were right in the fight all the way through that. What happened in the second race though? Because I was saying this later on in the race when I was looking at the gap between yourself and Mankin to the group at the front four. You were right there in the first part of the race, and then the pit stops happened, and then 5 or 6 laps later, you guys were 12 seconds behind. Did you lose time in the pit stops?
no, it was just tire wear, and
Was
then the
it?
same. I lost another 2 seconds. So
Yeah. That is a shame on the game. Hopefully, you know, next week, or rather, I keep saying next week. I'm so used to saying next week. But 2 weeks from now in Jeddah, things will be a lot better for you. But did you enjoy the racing today? Was it a good fight?
yeah, I touched a couple of people. Like Psycho accidentally went in the back of him. So like I don't know if that affected him or not. So, but my tires were gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this looks like something to try and maybe work towards in the coming races, and hopefully you can get on top of that tyres wear situation. But in any case, still scored some decent points. You know, you're building your points up in the championship, and let's hope for more of the same moving forward, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Right, so in terms of Gavra Racing and the weekend Tier 1 action, that is it for today. There's been a lot of fights out on circuit, a lot of mystery and intrigue, but we ended up with Chris winning both the sprint and the main race as well, which means that the championship will resume with quite a few storylines heading into it in 2 weeks' time. Due to the Formula One schedule of the real world, sadly, we won't see the Tier 1 guys next week. We'll next see them racing, I believe, on the 29th, no, rather, the 5th of November. So it's going to be a few weeks, actually 3 weeks from now, I should say, before we see them on the 5th of November. However, positive news, we will see Tier 2 next week and the week after. So there will be action going on with Gavra for the next couple of weeks. It'll just be splintered, so we won't see Tier 1 for a few weeks, but we will see Tier 2 at 5 o'clock next week here in Austria, which will no doubt be some great racing that we've already seen here, as demonstrated by the Tier 1 guys. A big thank you to our sponsor in terms of 3DPrinting4U for joining us this season. It's been fantastic having them on board, and I'm really looking forward to having them with us all the way through the rest of the campaign. But I've been Jack TM53, your commentator, as always, for the Weekend League Tier 1 and Tier 2. And wherever it might be in the big wide world, have a good one. See you next week.